Hey, how you guys doing? Welcome to Letty Speaks. So tonight I didn't come to do a reading. I didn't come to, read energy. I just came to have much needed discussion. I don't know if anyone will stop by to listen to this. I don't know, but it's been something that I've been wanting to say for quite a while. We all know that we are in the season of the unveiling, right? We're in the season where many stars are falling. We're in a season where spiritual awareness is even being heightened right now. And as we know, we can see it in the news. It many times it's like world news and hits the headlines. And I feel like it's really an energy that's coming in to kind of tear down things that no longer hold value, things that no longer can stand in such a time that we're in right now. And so they're being uncovered, they're being brought down. The curtain is being, tore down. And this is really important for me because one of the things that I often have talked about, one of the things that just really irks me to the core is how we've been in many ways deceived so blatantly. One of my many, I won't say complaints, but one of my many concerns is how we can have this system, that feeds such a heavy level of lies and deceit, and y'all know my go-to. For those of you that have heard my rants, my go-to is always going to things like the pillars in society, things like the schools, how we have been fed this education that hasn't really served anyone, and it's been, something that has just occupied space. Come to find out, there has been an underlying agenda behind it, right? How we can so blatantly tell untruths and keep the energy of deceit going, even after finding out the truth, right? We still are holding to the deceit and the lies, right? And if anything tries to bring up any level of truth or any new findings, that refute anything that's being taught, it's being shunned. I look at people like Terrence Howard, who's doing an amazing job of just presenting his case. There's some things that he's bringing to the forefront. Amazing actor, first of all. This guy is come to find out, is just a genius the whole time. Amazing actor, someone who is able to actually get into character at any moment in time, and come to find out that he's actually a genius as well, a scientific genius, a scientific guru, someone who loves science, right? I've been a fan for a long time just watching him act. And to find out there's so much more underneath that is just amazing. But he brings valid points and discoveries around science that's challenging, the very culture, the very club that we call science, right? And of course, it's causing a stir. It's a big to do. But That's what I'm talking about. You know, if anyone steps forward to combat this system, talking about education right now, like there are what do I want to call them? Rules, right, in place to keep this deceit going, to keep these lies perpetuating, you know. And and so that's one example. We're talking about school. But even more than that, when we talk about things like history, how there is such an omission, you know, when it comes to history, and how what's been written in history, you know, are things that for so long were not able to be refuted. Well, now we're coming into a time where people are refuting it, and they're speaking their truth according to what's been revealed to them. And of course, it's causing a stir, but it's breaking down this foundation that's been built on lies and deceit. Another pillar is, you know, we're looking at the medical industries, how we're learning, you know, that it's nothing but, and for me, it's coming to understand that all of these pillars have turned out to be nothing but capitalistic systems, right? We look at the health, you know, the health system around us and how it's built on now, which, you know, it may have always been. We just never realized it is built on making money, right? And so instead of, you know, when you see your doctor, instead of them telling you, okay, so your blood pressure's high, so this is what I want you to do. Stop eating red meat, you know, go exercise at least 30 minutes a day, you know, cut out, you know, all of the iodized salt, you know, instead of telling practical solutions to patients, they would rather prescribe a pill, you know, for the money, to keep the money flowing in, to keep the patients dependent, right? So they have to continue coming back to the doctor and being subscribed. You know, it's stuff like that. And then also understanding the food that we peddle and how there's so much within the food that's toxic to our bodies. That's what's causing us to stay at the doctor. And so it turns out that it's a whole system of capitalism, you know, these pillars in society. And then that's just a couple. I'm not going to go all the way into, you know, detail, but I got on here to talk a little bit about the entertainment industry and what's happening there. That's another pillar, you know, and how we have these two, what we would deem as who is supposed to be, you know, role models, people that are before large groups of people. And whenever you're placed in a position of leadership, there is a responsibility that comes with that. Yes, we're talking about Kendrick Lamar, and we're talking about Drake, right? The issue there. And this is very refreshing for me, I'll say, at the least, because there's so many different dynamics to what's happening here as I look at it. And I'm just looking at it from my own points of view. You know, anytime you have a industry that's built on anything other than the truth, or anything other than something that's edifying and giving life, you know, it's bound to be ran into the ground at some time. And though it's overdue, you know, I look back at the history of music and how it has always been this very inspirational source of energy, very inspirational unexplained phenomenon, right? And as a people, right, that has been something that we have taken great pride in. It has been something that has carried us over, right? When we were going through the different eras of suffering that we've endured, music has been one of the major elements that's kept us sane many times. You know, even for myself, music is definitely a sustaining energy for me, right? Going through a difficult time, all I have to do is go and, you know, start singing or put on some music, and it has the power to, change the energy. And it's actually a gift. I really do believe it's a gift that was given to us to do just that. And as we look back at history, no matter how far we go back, I believe we can attribute music being a part of that, even if it's something as simple as drums, you know, banging on something to make a beat, or, you know, some type of theatrical energy, you know. And so it's always been an element that's been a part of our existence. I don't even want to go so much into culture, even though we are talking about cultures, but it's always been a very natural, a very much needed part of our existence. And to look at how it has evolved, right, over time, and, you know, thinking back maybe 100 years ago, how much different it looked. And coming to today's point in time, bringing it to the situation that we're talking about with Kendrick Lamar and Drake, you know, and how when we take a look at the music, how much it's changed. And when we talk about Kendrick Lamar and Drake, we're talking about this element of music that's been, it's been a tool. It's been a tool of, and I'm going to go so far to even say that it's been like a tool of therapy for our younger culture and our older culture, because it's been a tool of therapy for me, but for different reasons, because of things has changed, right? And so, but as I look at music now and how it has changed, like the message behind the music, how it's become, it used to be something very, back in my day, like it was very romantic, very love driven, very emotional, you know, it was very hypnotic, right? And there's a different element now. The element now that's come forth with music has turned into something in many ways very destructive. And even as we're learning more about the energy behind the music and how people are even going so far as to manipulate the frequency of the music to elicit a certain energy when people listen to it, you know, things like that. It's become very manipulative and seductive in many ways, very damaging. And so I have come to really appreciate what's happening right now, because in many ways, it's almost like having to have something happen to actually redeem the music, right? Because there is this thing called hip hop, right? That was started to be a level or a tool of communication, a tool of encouragement, a tool of expression. It's almost like back in the day, if you're somebody older, and jazz, you know, when jazz was really the thing, you know, and it was this great thing of expression where you were able to pour your heart out and just allow it to flow, you know. And there were so many different elements to jazz. It still is. It's such a beautiful expression. It's kind of like that, but for a different time, right? When hip hop got started, it was a way to pour out expressions in that exact same way that, you know, we engaged with jazz, right? There wasn't a lot of, well, there were, you know, songs with words, but it was the music that communicated through jazz, right? In the same way, hip hop communicated with a certain group of people, a certain culture of people to communicate certain things, you know, and then we added words and rhythm. It was really the same intent with the same level of passion and expression, you know, as we look back at the times where they engaged with jazz really heavy, right? And so there rose up another generation who expressed their love for this art differently with hip hop. And it was a beautiful expression, and it grabbed the attention of a certain culture. And the people who were responsible for hip hop understood the power of what it was that they were sharing, right? And so it started out as something very positive, something very powerful, something very uplifting. It was actually a tool of enlightenment, you know, when it first started. When I'm thinking of some of the groups early on, when I remember listening to hip hop, right? There's always been different genres, but the hip hop that started was like, I'm thinking of people like Tribe Called Quest and Queen Latifah, you know, Ice Cube was further along, but Kumo D, right? Heavy D. Going back even further, we have Dougie Fresh, who, you know, was the instrument. But we have people like I'm trying to remember. I'm thinking of someone specific. Why can't I remember his name? I can't remember his name. But they used it as a tool to teach and to educate and to uplift and to lift consciousness. His name is going to come to me. This strong hip hop leader. He started back when hip hop became really big. I don't know why I can't remember his name, but he actually teaches now. But it was very different. And to see it kind of evolve to where it is now, to where now it is, it's turned into a very capitalistic thing where it's all about money, you know, it's all about possessions and things and having a certain, you know, stunt, you know, in front of the camera, and, you know, and so it's all about very superficial types of things. And because we have allowed that, and we have celebrated that, and we have received that and accepted that, and we've glorified that, it's grown into this monster, right? So what started out as hip hop, I don't even think we can call it hip hop no more. It's something else. I'm not sure what the term would be. I guess it would be called, what is it? Trap music? Maybe, I don't know. I don't know what the term would be. But it's gotten away from us. It's gotten away from the intent that it was originally purposed for. And I know some of the original creators of this movement, if they're still here, is like, turning their nose up at some of this stuff. And if they're not, they're probably turning in their graves, because of what has been misconstrued along the way. And because it's held in such high esteem, we've lost our way, which is why we have held it in such high esteem. But again, there's other elements involved here, like the manipulation of frequency and music. And, we've learned how to kind of develop this energy of hypnotism with tracks and with sounds and with frequencies and vibrations. And right, there's so many different other elements and intentions being poured into the music now. It's turned into something else. And we know the power of words, right? So mix that with this very hypnotic energy behind the actual physical element of the music, and you have a very self-destructive tool in your hand. And then add on to that money and power and influence and the spotlight, and you have this very elusive, misguided image that truly is unrealistic and unattainable. That's all it is a very elusive energy. It's not even real. And so for me, the energy, the season that we've entered into, this time that we've entered into right now, where there is this, what do I want to call it? This face-off, right, between Kendrick Lamar and Drake, I think is very necessary. And I think it takes a move of divine order to confront that energy. Because again, it's almost like having a God on display, right? With all these things that people desire, right? And we're praising this and lifting it up and glorifying it and giving, throwing our monies at it and, in essence, worshiping this energy. I'm going to call it an energy. But it takes a move, a divine move, I believe, to confront that. And I personally believe that that's what's happening. And I think that things have been arranged, just like other people that have been kind of caught in the crossfire. However that has happened, things have been exposed and opened up so that the truth can be seen. Even with all these other things, right now we are finding out just how toxic the food is that we're eating, right? How expensive it is to eat at McDonald's consistently. And we're not talking about money. We're talking about a price that your body pays that you can't just work off, right? You can't go to the gym after you've eaten, McDonald's for like 30 days and just work that off. There is a consequence, right? Because of the products that they use and the ingredients and the chemicals that they put in that food, because they want to preserve and make more money, right? We're finding out about that. We're finding out about, the industries around medicine and how it may not actually be working in our favor, right? I can't forget how we were finding out about the lisinopril, how it was swelling people's lips up like 4 and 5 times the size of the lip, and just random parts of the body, right, was just swelling up, and it was the medicine. We're finding out about, of course, we've known, depending on what you were tapped into, that it might not be all that great to have a regular education. You may want to homeschool your kids, right? We found that out. But here we have a situation, I believe, that's very appointed. It's an appointed time for this. And I feel like there was someone that was appointed to do it, and it just so happens to be these two energies, right? And so I don't fault Drake. He is a product of his environment, obviously, but so is Kendrick Lamar, right? It's a divine appointment. And I really do feel like Kendrick Lamar is serving as an awakening. He's serving as an awakening, not only for Drake, which obviously has some things to, learn, but also for the culture at whole, because we have accepted this. We've idolized it. And so we're just as much at fault as, Drake is. So I'm not pointing fingers. I'm just pointing out the energy that's at play right now. And so these are the two energies, Kendrick Lamar and Drake, that's been pointed to kind of act out this awakening that's happening right now within a certain culture, around a certain element of energy that we call music. And it's almost like we've been waiting for someone to do it, but who's going to do it? Who's going to take down the giant? It's almost like, that if you are into Bible stories, we're talking about David and Goliath. The Philistines had the giant, so they were undefeated. Who's going to win against the giant, right? And here we have, the smallest one in the group, the most insignificant one, the tiniest one, the runt, that was used as the energy to defeat this major distraction, this obstacle that stood in the way of evolution and progression for people. And we get to see this play out again, right? Who's going to stand up to this energy? And I know a lot of people see it. I know a lot of people saw it. Those that were a part of creating this culture of uplifting our people, right? And then to have somebody come along that don't even really understand what this is about, right? Who's really in it for all the wrong reasons, like because you couldn't possibly understand the weight of what it is that you're carrying. And it's evident because of, I've never really, tuned into Drake, but from what I've heard, I believe it. It doesn't really sound like he's very conscious, And so this is a play, a divine appointment that's happening right now between these two energies. And we see it here in the physical, but it's actually something happening that's above us. It's a divine appointment that's happening here. And it's almost like the energy, like who's going to tell them? We have this giant, this person that is highly, you know, esteemed, idolized, lifted up, you know, and is thought of as this great thing, this great energy, but it's toxic energy. It's regressive energy, you know. It's not something to be, you know, excited or proud about. But at the same time, it's almost like it's untouchable because of, you know, everything around it, the money, the power, you know, the influence, you know, this elusive appearance of what we all dream of, you know. And so I think this is just but one of the, again, another example of how things, the veil is being pulled down off of things so that the truth can be seen. And this is no different than anything else. You know, I'm going back to the movie New Jack City, Nino Brown, untouchable, right? Even in the court system, he won the court case. That's how untouchable he was. But there was a divine appointment. And so even going back to in our own lives, how we may have energies around us, because that's all it is energy. You know, we're not even talking about Drake per se. We're talking about this energy that perpetuates death, that perpetuates, you know, this very obscene energy that doesn't really respect life, that doesn't respect, you know, the things that this level of influence around music and the culture around that, the things that they stood for. I can't help but think of Tupac, which was very culture connected, culture driven. Tupac had a very deep level of understanding, and we understand why, because he had roots that were very deep in history and culture and understanding. And so he wasn't the average. His thinking was higher than the average person who was in the industry. And so his aim was a little different, you know. And so, again, we have a play of energies here. And I feel like Kendrick Lamar was chosen. He was chosen to do something that has needed to be done for a long time. Maybe it was purpose to reach this level, because this is something that's been going on for a long time and it's been needing to be said, but no one has really, either they've said it and no one listened, or it just wasn't the time maybe. But I think this is a divine appointment. And for those of us that understand the value behind, you know, like when we talk about music, it's very sacred to us. It's sacred. And then we talk about certain movements of music, you know, hip hop was very sacred. A lot of people don't understand that, but it was very sacred, you know. And then as it developed into this movement of power and acknowledging rights and what should be right and what's not right, and addressing issues that people don't talk about because they don't know. You know, it was a tool, a sacred tool for us. And it was also something that allowed us to reach the masses, right? And to share thought, encouragement. If you don't know, then you don't understand the depth of it. And I think a lot of people engage in it as just an art form, just an expression, when for some of us it's much deeper than that. When we talk about Tupac, we're talking about someone who understood the struggle. He was young, but he was actually a very old soul because he was raised by older people. He was raised by thought forms that understood before a lot of the public did what was happening, who saw things a little bit different. And so his methods, his mindset was different. And his reach was deeper. His mission was deeper. His reasons for doing things was more purposeful, more imminent, right? And so if you don't understand some of the things, that we've only saw movies about, right? You're not going to really get it because it's just entertainment. But if you grew up, right, in the middle of the poverty-stricken areas, if you grew up in the middle of the places where back in the 70s and the 60s, how there were certain, places that was specifically chosen to be degraded and to be tore down through substance, right? It was specifically targeted, right? And from that moment was like a downfall of what we call this very positive, proud family structure, community, right? There was always something, just when we thought we had it together and we were making progress and we were about to move forward, here comes something else. And we just want to survive, it's that kind of stuff. But unless you lived it, it's just a fairy tale, it's just a story, it's just a movie to you, it's just entertainment. When you watch those movies like New Jack City or Boys in the Hood or Jason's Lyric, all of those old movies that are based on real life. Those are not just fairy tales. They're not just stories, but they're real life. They're stories of a fight to survive. And out of that came this culture of music as a part of that struggle to keep the encouragement going, to remind us that this too shall pass. We're going to get through this too. And so for many, it's very personal. And if you've never been in that situation or had to live in the reality of that, if you know, if you don't, then you're not going to understand this. But if you've never had to really see that for yourself and not just look at it on a screen, but you live through it, then you understand what I'm saying. It's not just a hobby, but for many, this has been a movement. It's been a mission that they've committed to doing, to help lift the vibration, lift the mindset of a people that were stricken. And so this is why this is important. This is not just a squabble. This is not just entertainment, but this is a very divine appointment. It's a divine appointment. It's almost like everybody watching and everybody looking around like, who's going to tell them, right? Who's going to tell them? And again, I don't think it is. I'm not talking about, Drake per se. We're talking about energy, the fall of energy, right? We talk about things that are going on and people getting, exposed with what's happening in the background. We're talking about a play on energy. This is energy. And we're in that season where the veil is been lifted and people are being exposed and things are coming out. This is almost like a turning point. There's a turning point happening. And so these are very divinely appointed things that are happening. I think this is one of them between Kendrick Lamar and Drake. And so for me, what has been important is, understanding that money is not everything. Fame is not everything. Influence is not everything. Those are very misleading influences of power. They're very misleading because you can have lots of money, but if you don't know like what to do with it, then it doesn't mean anything. You can have power and you can have influence over people, but if you just use it to manipulate people to get what you want, then it doesn't mean anything, right? With great power, it comes great responsibility. The more power you have, the more responsibility you have to that power. And so somewhere along the line, we got it twisted. And yeah, I think that has been what has been most important about all of this, is pointing to the fact that there needed to be a resurgence, I think that's the word, or a resurrection of values. Or there needs to be a redirection from the attention to, not that there is a lack of it, because there's like a lot of integrity yet still in the music. There's some hip hop artists that I love, that stand for things that build, things that edify and uplift. So not that it's completely lacking, but it's the tension needing to be redirected from this energy around power and money, because that's not it. That's not it. And that has been, I feel, has been what Kendrick Lamar has been saying. It's coming back to what really matters. And I don't know how it took place. I don't know. I hear someone said the wrong thing and it turned into, something more. But from my perspective, I feel like it was divine appointment. So it couldn't have happened any other way. It was supposed to happen, because this is supposed to be a turning point where our hearts are turned back to truth. For a long time, we've been blindfolded, right, by our desires for something. We've been led down a road and we don't even know where we are. And so this is the act of bringing us back to truth. And for those that have their eye on, money and power and this energy of manipulation and, fame, this very, superficial energy, right? This is the wake-up call to bring back to truth. And a lot of what has been said has been just that. It's pointing to the fact that really you don't understand like what it is that you're even standing in. Because if you did, like some of the things that you do and say, you wouldn't. That proves that you have no understanding of what it is that you're really doing. And so somebody had to say it. And it just so happened that this is the person who is appointed for that. And I think it's significant because when I, as a parent, when I think of the music available for my kids, and they're grown now, but they were able to sample in when they got in their older teens or young adult years, they were able to go and choose the kind of music they listened to. It was concerning. Even now, when I look into the words that they are repeating and listening to and pouring into their minds, it's like, no wonder. Like, did you ever stop to think of the music that you're pouring into your mind, and then you wonder why you're waking up without no energy or without any type of direction or perspective, right? It's the music, boo. That's how that works. And so even with my own kids, I have to have many talks to break it down about the power of words, and how we have to be very conscious of what it is that we're pouring, into our psyche. And music is one of the easiest ways to do that, right? And there's something about music that allows us to become, to take down our boundaries, right? And it just invites, it's open to receive. Something about music that leaves us defenseless to receive what's coming forward, right? All you need is the right sound or the right beat, and it's off from there. And so there is a level of integrity that's being called back in when it comes to music. That's what this is. When it comes to the food that we eat, when it comes to the educational system, right? Even the government, when it comes to these major pillars in society, even religion, y'all. Nobody's safe. And so we're in a day and time where that's just what it is. And if it's not right, it's being exposed. Period. And that even goes for the whoever that is in your life, in your community, right? The money, the power, the, status, the things, that don't mean anything. Because if the highest of the high can be stripped down to nothing and have everything shut down, baby, it can happen to anybody. And so now's the time to really wake up and pay attention to what it is that you are following, who you're following. Not only that, what values do they have? Do they stand for lifting people up? Or is it just money at the end of the day? Is it just about money? Is it just about popularity? Is it just about, power and status and things and looking good? And, What is it? Because with all those people, I think, that support that energy, all the ones that would uplift, and we're using Drake as an example, right? Guess what? They get to fall along with him. They're being awakened to the truth as well. And the fall, I think Kendrick Lamar has shown a level of love that this man has not had in a long time. Obviously so. It sounds like a battle, but that's not what it is. This is grace being poured out on somebody publicly, because Kendrick Lamar has showed this man a level of grace that no one has had the courage to do. Right? And so this is very exciting times to see. And I don't look at it like, a certain person is falling. I really do look at it like a play of energy. And these are the people that have been chosen to carry out this energy. It's almost like astrological energies playing out here. These are the individuals that have been chosen to play out this energy to fulfill this shift that's happening right now. It just so happens to be these two individuals, and anybody else that's been exposed. This just so happens to be them, right? It's a whole bunch more, right? We got, people that carry this energy in our own families that obviously get away with all kind of stuff, and no one ever has the heart to walk away or tell them that what they're doing is not right, or stand up to them, or refuse to even deal with it, right? We have people in our communities that carry this energy too. This energy of using people as commodity and for capitalistic gains, right? And no one has had the courage to stand up to them because they carry a level of power and they carry a lot of things, right? It looks good, or they have a lot of money, right? Don't make it right. And so you being willing to walk away or stand up and just tell somebody like, yeah, I don't know. Let's rethink that, right? That's more loving. That's giving them more love, right, than the people that are obviously around them every day that don't have the heart to tell them the truth. Many times because they gain something from it. And if they tell them the truth, then there's going to possibly be a stop to the flow of money, or to the flow of access to this lifestyle, right? And so I feel like this display of grace, I'm gonna call it grace, between Kendrick Lamar and Drake has been very purposeful. And it's been a divine appointment from how I see it. Now, I know I tend to go very deep and see things from a different perspective, but yeah. And again, not taking sides. I don't fault Drake and I don't fault Kendrick Lamar. I think it's a play on divine appointment. I think both of them have been a product of their environment. And I think it's bigger than them, right? They're playing out a very significant role to bring something to pass. But really what's happening is much bigger than them. No more than we can blame any one person for the hurricanes that are happening right now. across the world. Nobody's to blame for that. That's something that has to happen for change to take place in the earth, in the atmosphere, for things to be released. Very pivotal moments. It was said that this world had one solid piece of land, and over time it's separated. That's why we have the continents now, right? There was a great level of shifting that had to take place that was probably very uncomfortable to the earth. And it was probably very explosive, probably very unnerving, right? Kind of like what we're feeling in the atmosphere right now. As things are being exposed in the spiritual realm, change is taking place. Yeah. And so that's what I wanted to say. And I really do feel like it's going to be for the good. Who knows what will come out of this, right? Maybe this is that lesson that, was needed so somebody could be elevated mentally, so somebody could evolve to a place where they're able to use what they've been given in a more appropriate way. We don't know. It's yet to be seen what will happen. I just know that it's purposeful. And so that's my spiel. And I'm very excited about it. I think it's something that's been a long time coming. And the way that it has been unleashed has even been pretty interesting as well. And I haven't even listened to all of them. I haven't gone through all of the diss tracks. I only know probably maybe one or two of the songs, right? And I don't even think it's that important. From where I stand, it's not that important. I just think I see the bigger picture of what's happening here. I do. And I see a claiming back of what is rightfully owned, by a group of people, by a culture that has a lot to lose, right? And so you don't just let anybody come in your house and just take over and do what they want to do. No. You step into my house, you got to follow the rules. First of all, you have to understand whose house you're in. You don't just get a pass to come in and take over and change things, start taking things off the wall and putting up other kinds of pictures, start moving around furniture, putting your feet up on the furniture, right? You don't get to do that. You step into my house, you have to follow my rules. Okay? Especially if you don't pay no bills. If you have not contributed to the sustaining of my culture in my house, you don't get to come in here and make any changes or call any shots or even benefit from even being here unless I invite you to do that, right? You don't just go and invite yourself to my refrigerator and open it up and start eating stuff. No, you have to be invited to do that. And before you go open up the refrigerator, there are rules. There's things in there that you are not allowed to touch because they're only for me. And you will wash your hands before you go and touch the refrigerator, right? It's stuff like that. But that's what this is about. It's bigger than us. It's bigger than us. And we have to understand that with power. I've done a few videos because I feel like Spirit has been hitting on that real hard. I'm going to have to repost those videos. We're talking about power. I'm going to repost it right after this. Comes great responsibility. We don't just get to, run free with this level of what we've been given, right? We've been given it for a reason. That's the mission, to find out what is it. and then start using it, because that's going to be more fulfilling than all the money in the world. That's going to be more fulfilling than any amount of pleasure that you can experience. You stepping into your purpose is going to be like a hand to a glove, and it's going to be like nothing you've ever felt. And there's going to be nothing that can give you that level of satisfaction. And you may be able to still have the, the lifestyle that you want, but when you realize what you've come here to do, that's not no longer going to be at the top of your list. That's not going to be the reason, right, for you doing what you do, but it's going to be your purpose driving you. And so the power comes responsibility. We don't just get off the hook like that, because there's such a thing as karma. There's energy that's constantly moving, and that energy is moving through intention, and it's so important. And so we're coming into a time where we're becoming more conscious of that, and it's important because we all have a part to play. And we all are influencing the energies, whether we realize it or not. When we see the earth doing bad and the culture is bad, guess what? We played a part in that. Whether it was by doing something or not doing anything, we played a part in that. So this is big for me. I'm excited about it. And so I am going to post my videos. I'm going to have to go back and look for them. I did a few readings on the power, or maybe I'll do some more and see what comes out. But anywho, that was my spiel. And so thank you all for those. I don't know who will come by and watch this. I truly don't, but I felt led to come on here and talk about it and release what I'm feeling is, really in the air around what's happening right now, especially as it pertains to these two energies at play right now. It's exciting, and I'm encouraged. It lets me know that the things that have been done in the lives that's been taken behind this energy of expression through music to lift and encourage, there's been lives taken behind this. This is not a game. People have given their lives for this, and it lets me know that that has not been done in vain. Yeah. Talking about that energy that comes back around, that lets me know that what has been sown was not sown in vain, just to be tossed around and tattered on the floor like there wasn't a cost to it. There was a cost to this. And for those of us that was brought over here, unwillingly, there was a cost. There was a cost. But that's a whole different story. And so, yeah. So I'm lifting up, good energy, sending it out. I'm releasing all negative energy around this because it has nothing to do with me. I'm just noticing what's happening. It's a beautiful time to be in, and so thank you for stopping by and listening and chatting it up with me. I'll leave my comments open. If you want to comment, feel free to do so. Like, share. If you're liking the energy from my channel, you can subscribe to. Hit the bell so you'll be notified if I do post new content, or sometimes I'll go live. You'll catch me live. My name is Letty, and this has been just one of those simple little heart-to-hearts, right? Maybe this will come across someone that needed to hear it, that may not be understanding like what's taking place. Yeah. Or maybe didn't really understand like why it's so deep, or why there's such an issue, or why it's even, you know, such a big issue, right? There's a reason. We're in a point in time where things are shifting. Things are being brought down because they no longer work. And new systems are being brought into place. I believe that. And so, yeah, it's a good time to be alive. Anywho, I'm going to leave it there. If you watched it, enjoy. All right, I'll talk to you guys later.